Welcome back to True Transformation. I'm Jason Atkinson, and I'm here to educate, encourage, and inspire you to make real and lasting change. Go ahead and sign up for a free 15-minute phone consultation using the link in the comments below, or subscribe here and leave your questions for future episodes. So today I want to talk about how to calculate macros for fat loss. First of all, what are macros? Macros is short for macronutrients, that is protein, fat, and carbohydrates. That's a little more nuanced than total calories. I don't find calorie counting to be particularly helpful for the general public, so it's not something that I really talk about very much. Yes, each macronutrient does have a caloric value, and if you multiply it out and add them all up, it will come up to some total number, but I don't think that's especially helpful for most people. We don't really eat calories in the real world, we eat food. Yes, food has a caloric value. However, as I'm quick to point out, protein is not metabolized as energy. The energy substrates are fat and or carbohydrates. And technically, carbohydrate is not actually a nutrient, it's just an energy source. Fat is essential in the diet. Protein is essential in the diet. Carbohydrate is completely optional. So when structuring a diet, I don't base those macros on percentages that add up to a particular calorie metric, as some people do. It's all based on body weight and the amount of muscle you have, if we know that. So your recommendation for protein being the main nutrient that we need on a daily basis, that's our highest nutritional requirement, that's calculated at about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. On the low end, that would be 1 to 1.25 grams per pound of lean body mass. So if you know your lean body mass, or you can use a calculator to estimate it, that is your total body weight minus pounds of body fat is your lean body mass. So 1 gram to 1.25 grams per pound of lean body mass. Fat is set at about 0.5 gram per pound of body weight per day, or 1 to 1.25, or half, whatever half of that is, 0.75. So 0.5 to 0.75 grams, so about half the amount. Whatever your protein amount is, that number in grams, half that amount. And then carbohydrate is completely optional. The requirement for carbohydrate is 0. So if you ate nothing with carbohydrates in it, you can still be perfectly healthy, have plenty of energy, and not suffer any disease symptoms. It is an optional nutrient, or a energy source is what I'm trying to get at, and that can be as low as 25 grams per day and as high as 250 grams per day. So when it comes to dietary approaches, the ancestral approaches that have become more popular in the last few years, these are all aimed at quality, not quantity. The idea is that when the quality is high enough, the quantity is going to take care of itself. Because when we eat natural whole foods in their regular form, higher in protein, lower in carbohydrate, which is a natural pattern, that will tend to self-regulate the appetite. It's really only necessary to meticulously track grams and carbohydrates and calories when you're trying to fit in more and more processed foods. If something is super high in carbohydrate, super low in protein and other nutrients, more than likely that is a processed food. Anything with sugar, flour, or processed grains such as wheat, corn, oats, rice, etc. Things that turn into sugar, even starches like potatoes and rice, those are just pure energy. There's very little nutrients to be found in those type of foods. Not that you couldn't find somewhere else at a lower energy intake. So set your protein at 1 gram per pound. Set your fat at about 0.5 gram per pound. And then carbohydrates are optional. If you're trying to lose fat, the lower the better. If you eat less carbohydrates, you will burn more body fat. If you eat more carbohydrates, you will burn less body fat. Case closed. So, construct your diet that way. Now, when it comes to how restrictive you want to get with this, with these intuitive ancestral approaches, the least restrictive would be something like a paleo diet. Paleo is shorthand, short term, or nickname for Paleolithic. That's designed to mimic the type of diet that people would have consumed in the pre-agricultural or hunter-gatherer area or Paleolithic era. What we know about the way the diet was constructed back then, it was very high in animal source protein. It was very low in carbohydrates because those types of foods were not available prior to the advent of agriculture. So if you want to just something that you don't have to track meticulously, do a paleo diet. That's going to eliminate grains, sugars, flour, seed oils like soy, canola, and corn oil. Those are just pure energy in the form of fat. Reduce or eliminate those things, focus on animal source protein, you'll probably do just fine. If you need an extra level of restriction, take your paleo diet template. Further reduce the carbohydrates down to as low as you can possibly go. That's a ketogenic diet. So that would include anything like lean meat, fish, chicken, turkey, eggs, egg whites, maybe some dairy, any type of fruits or veggies as long as they're low in carbohydrate, nuts and seeds, that's all real food, and just eliminate or avoid sugar, flour, and processed foods as much as possible. That is a ketogenic diet with carbohydrates about 25 grams or less per day. Now, if you feel like you need an extra level of restriction beyond a ketogenic diet, now we're talking about more of a carnivore diet. Carnivore diet follows all the rules of paleo, it follows all the rules of keto, but we're going to reduce or completely eliminate as much as possible any plant source products. So nuts and seeds, vegetables, fruit, starchy tubers, etc. Those things would be completely eliminated. And it's fine to go from one level to the next. I tend to stay right in the middle most of the time in a kind of a ketogenic state. Occasionally, I do indulge in some junk food on the weekends. So this is something I want to talk to everyone about today. I've noticed in some of the circles that I'm associated with on social media platforms, Instagram in particular, there is a growing consensus that junk food is just to be avoided, like a deadly poison, like you're an addict and you just never touch a slice of pizza or a piece of cake or pie or ice cream ever again in your life. If you do, you're off the team. You're not one of us. You're not a carnivore. You're not a hardcore, right? Okay, I think that's nonsense. We all live in the real world. The idea or the notion that diet has to be 100% all or nothing perfection leads a lot of people to fail or never even attempt to try to change in the first place because they know they can't be perfect for the rest of their life. No one can. That's why my way of doing things, it's a cyclical ketogenic diet. It's clean eating, low carbohydrate, high protein about 80% of the time. The other 20% of the time, roughly, pretty much anything goes. High carbs on the weekends. I generally eat pizza, burgers and fries, ice cream, any kind of junk food that I want on the weekends in a tightly controlled window, mostly in the evening on Friday and Saturday, and then get right back on plan. That approach is what has allowed me to maintain a 75-pound fat loss for about 10 years now. So take it from someone who's in the trenches. Here's my analogy. Okay, when it comes to handling food addiction or processed food addiction, you can think of it as the difference between being a full-blown alcoholic and a social drinker. If you could be a social drinker, or in this instance, a social junk food eater on the weekends only, and it's not tempting you to go completely off the rails for the next 10 days, or eat donuts on Wednesday morning when it's not time to eat donuts, or going off your program more often than you're sticking to your program, maybe you do need to adhere to something strict in the short term, at least the first 30 to 90 days. But know that long term, in order to adhere to this for a lifetime, occasionally you're going to indulge in some things that are not super healthy or that are not on your plan. This is 4th of July weekend. It's Saturday. This afternoon, I'm going to a cookout. I'm not going to be the only guy sitting over in the corner eating a hamburger patty and nothing else, okay? There will probably be some junk food there. I'm more than likely there will be. And I will be indulging in that. And that's okay, because training for 6 hours a week in a carb-depleted state, burning maximum body fat 5 days a week, when you finally do reload with carbohydrate, you got plenty of space in the muscles to store it. It's not going to get stored as body fat. It gets stored in the muscles, refills your glycogen, resets some of your hormones that have to do with appetite regulation and that have to do with releasing stored body fat for energy. That's the key to making the whole thing stick. The basic template is 5 days, high protein, low carb. The other 2 days, high carbs, moderate amounts of fat and protein. Don't go off the rails with it, but the idea is to enjoy some of your favorite foods once or twice a week. This is the way the bodybuilders ate back in the 60s and 70s in the golden era. This is the anabolic diet or a cyclical ketogenic diet. That's the program the way I construct it. I recommend to all my clients and to you, all my listeners and subscribers here, enjoy your favorite foods in moderation. That doesn't mean a little bowl of ice cream every day or a bowl of cereal for breakfast every morning, okay? It's all contextual. Morning is the time when you want your blood sugar to be low and you want your insulin to be low. We burn fat while we're sleeping. If you want to burn more fat in your sleep, eat less carbs while you're awake, okay? We burn fat while we're sleeping. When we wake up in the morning, most Americans are hitting that high carb breakfast, cereal, juice, toast, sugar in the coffee, pastries, on and on and on. That disrupts the fat burning process. Now you have to clear the glucose from your bloodstream. You're going to temporarily stop burning fat, but you're still eating fat. If you're putting cream cheese on your bagel, you're going to burn the bagel for energy to try to get it out of your bloodstream and store this cream cheese as fat. So get the bagel out of the picture, enjoy some eggs, have a little cream cheese on the side if you want it. If that fits your program or fits your macros, just keep your carbs low most of the time. If you're going to eat carbohydrate in a high amount, do that after a workout or in the evening. You don't even have to go 5 full days with low carbs. You can go 12 hours, 12 waking hours without glucose and burn more body fat. That's my main objection to these really strict adherence type diets like the carnivore diet in particular. You can't just be a little bit carnivore. You're either carnivore or you're not. Carnivore means you're eating nothing but meat or nothing but animal products, no exceptions ever. That's not a sustainable way of doing things. If you want results that you can keep, things that you can continue to do a year from now, 5 years now, or 10 years from now, it's got to be more pleasurable than the way you're eating now. You're going to feel better and look better. If you lose a ton of body fat and you don't feel better and look better, what's the point? That's what we're trying to get to, is looking better, feeling better. Along the way, that's going to require a little sacrifice or a little giving up some of those things that you thought you had to have that you might just be doing out of habit. If you're eating a sandwich for lunch, are you just consuming all that bread, starch, anti-nutrients, and endocrine disruptors just for the sake of having something to hold the meat and cheese together? Roll it up and eat it. Throw the bread away. That's garbage. Or save it for the weekend. Have, instead of a piece of tasteless bread, have some pizza crust or, a bowl of ice cream or maybe a donut or something like that. Live your life. Okay, that's my rant for today. That's all the time we have. If you like this format, send some questions for future episodes so I don't have to just keep reaching in my memory banks for things that I think people want to hear about. I want to talk about what you want to know about. Leave your comment below and I'll be back with another video soon.